Hello, everybody, and welcome here to another Kerfuffle showcase. And I am delighted to have hot-footing it digitally from Barcelona, Tony and Nathan of Restb. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Simon. Nice to meet you.
Of course, no, I'm sure my name carries all the way over there to Spain. That's my ego and narcissism and everything else. Guys, I'm really excited today to talk to you because you are presenting and going to be discussing with us a technology that, is founded on some of the core things that agents are involved with. Imagery, obviously, we are an industry that is replete with beautiful imagery. You're also tapping on the window, whispering some of the keywords to me like AI, which we hear time and time again. But what you're doing here today, which is why I've been so looking forward to this, is actually making that relevant, aren't you? This isn't kind of fluffy AI that you hear in the films or anything else. You guys are genuinely starting to deliver a promise of what AI can do in that specific world of imagery, and that's where I'm particularly excited to see if I've understood it right, because quite often I do fail to understand it. And talk about as well the application that real estate agents can benefit. And I think you made the point to me when we've spoken previously that the wonderful thing about this isn't really a minimum viable product per se, because other industries are doing this already, aren't they? So with that said, in terms of presenting that there, would you mind just giving us an overview of really who are SBA and give us a promise of what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I can kick off on that.
Sure.
In a nutshell, okay, and maybe later on I can elaborate a little bit more about this, but so we are a technological service provider, okay, who has been like 6 years in the market, so we are not new at this. And basically we are supporting real estate agents as well as the different players in the real estate industry to basically leverage the information that they can find on their digital assets. So, and basically that means the images.
Yeah.
So in a world of today where like images have a huge impact about how you present the different properties, how they get listed, how the users interact with all the different kind of properties that might be, let's say, looking for renting or for actually buying. It's really important not just to have like the right images, but also like to utilize that information that is being placed on those images, okay, for different purposes like the property search or for content moderation or for different elements that we will discuss later. Just to add on that, I mean, we are right now working in 20 different countries, so including the UK. Yep. We are processing like 1 billion images. So that means that we are getting lots of data that when we keep training, let's say, our AI models to make sure that actually they understand, okay, what's this image and what's inside this image, and basically take actions out of that. Just to give you some perspective that, we got a lot of knowledge and experience from the last few years.
Well, AI by definition needs those huge samples to learn effectively, doesn't it? So it's fantastically interesting to hear that you've got that level of data and imagery. On a simplistic level, I don't know what your server hosting charges are, but anyway, we'll come back. We'll come back to those less important
points. Yeah, exactly.
Later.
No, but that's an important one because actually we are not saving any images. Okay. So basically, we are not a company that is doing, let's say, anything bad behind the scenes. Okay, so in that purpose, that's something that I'm sure that will come out later. But I mean, once we are processing those images, we are extracting the different data, okay, and we are deleting those images from our servers. So
that's a really good point. Well, I'm glad accidentally I got a good question out there, because that's great, isn't it? Because actually a lot of people are making that point. There are some, massive tech giants at the moment that are really ramming home the point, aren't they? That, you need to start thinking about the privacy elements and security point of view. So I thank you for clearing that point of view up. Just give us a bit of context, though, guys, in terms of what the current challenges you feel are in property search itself. Is it broken, do you feel, or is this just an evolution of how you can help?
I wouldn't look at it as broken. I would look at it as just quite static over the past maybe 10 years. If you think about the last innovation in property search from, at least a computer browsing perspective and that interface, it was really map-based search, which, now is part of every single estate agency site, every single portal. It's incredibly common. But now that everybody's kind of converged to the same experience, there's a lot of opportunity, I think, to do something different that is not really being done by, the people that are getting the majority of that traffic. So what we're seeing is, all right, a lot of people that are looking for homes now may have a clear idea of what they want. They may know that, I saw this really modern looking property that my friend had. How can I find properties like that in this market?
Yeah.
And there's not a way to do that. And so what we've, been able to create is experiences that allow people to, upload their own photo and find the most similar properties that exist according to their criteria. Or, if you're looking at the search results, for your criteria and you're most interested in the kitchen, making sure that the kitchen photo is displayed or, the garden is displayed, whatever may be most important to you. And all this is done to really prevent people from having to, click into each listing, scroll through the photos and then say, oh, as soon as I see it, I know I don't like this. Why have I wasted this 60 seconds, this 2 minutes here and there that really add up over time?
That's really interesting. So if I'm understanding this right, for years we've had the ability to kind of search very effectively on search engines like Google and everything else, and you can be really precise textually, can't you, in terms of trying to find the same stuff. It's not been quite as easy to do that, has it, in terms of with imagery, which of course is how so many people think and feel in terms of that. So what you're adding in that level, that layer is, am I right in thinking, to be able to almost add a search algorithm on top of photos themselves?
Exactly. So it's basically the data that allows all of these unique experiences to be created. We're providing that. And, one of the challenges and the reasons this hasn't come to real estate, the way it's come to social media, the way it's come to, e-commerce is that, real estate, you're getting hundreds of thousands of new photos every day. It's very hard to have any contextual data about those photos without using some type of AI or automated process. But then once you have that, you can start focusing on that individual user level. Okay, this user we know is looking at these specific photos. These are the things that we can return to them. Here are the things that we can send in the emails to them. All these things that happen very naturally in e-commerce or in social media, it all relies on this data that is behind the scenes, and that's what we can provide.
That's amazing. As I said, I always come back sometimes just think that just sounds like black magic. It sounds incredible. But just to reiterate again, can you, Nathan, that this is stuff that's happening elsewhere, isn't it? You mentioned the world of e-commerce. This is tried, tested, and being used very successfully all over the place.
Yes, and even in real estate, many people that working in the marketing space, in the ad space, are taking advantage of this to, really just optimize these experiences, to optimize that kind of funnel conversion that, becomes quite critical at scale. I mean, all these little things add up, and these elements that we put in, that are being put in, across real estate, are doing exactly what you're seeing and people are much more familiar with in these other industries.
I think one of the ways we came to start talking with each other was one of our agency clients was talking to us and saying, look, is there any software you're aware of that can kind of show the properties by style, from the imagery and things like that? And Paul, Paul went out looking and found, thankfully, you guys. Is that how does AI help solve those kinds of those issues?
So, I think to solve that issue, it first just helps understand, these different elements that you're able to pull out of photos that you see. The thing about AI is it's that black box that people think is quite scary. But on the other hand, it's also, acting very similar to you as a human. A lot of what we do is simply replacing, a human manually going through every property and saying, okay, this property features these stylistic elements, or it has this styling. So really, we're not doing anything crazy other than saving someone the countless hours it would take to go and categorize all of their properties by a certain style, and then making that easily accessible to users who say, oh, okay, I'm interested in, this particular type of home. Now I can easily see all those homes much more quickly, which is incredibly relevant because, homes of different styles, they may not be available at all in certain areas. They may have different price points. you know, all of these things are just not segregated out in any way that's usable, you know, currently.
Yeah, I mean, and you talk about it. I mean, it's at one level, yeah, people say it is a bit scary, but I think really it's just that's the basic premise of technology, isn't it? It's to make things easier, to help, you know, to help serve you the information in the most relevant way in a world where we're all more time poor than ever before.
Absolutely. I think that a common fear is that people, estate agents, think that, you know, people are trying to get rid of their jobs. They're trying to automate everything. And we come, you know, quite strongly from the opinion that what we want to do with AI is just make their jobs easier. You know, if we can automatically, you know, create complex marketing material for an agent or a complex newsletter for them to send out that is personalized in a certain way to each user, you know, that helps them. That makes them look good. It's not, it's certainly not, I think, feasible to try to replace an estate agent based on, you know, all the complexity that comes in that role. But there's tons of things that we can do that can help, that are really just automating or, you know, accelerating the speed at which they can do the things they're already doing.
And how far off are we being able to do some of that kind of stuff you're talking about there? So if you knew that, for example, somebody's favorite room was the kitchen, that you could then serve that up. Is this a project they're going to need to embark on you in a bespoke fashion? Is it out the box? I'm just trying to set the expectation. How are we going to get to those, I suppose, those end results that everyone always judges the success or failure of a project?
And this is where, you know, we have partnerships with, you know, companies all over that, you know, are the ones that are already doing these things. So if you have companies that are creating, you know, marketing brochures, if you have companies that are, you know, automating your social, you know, accounts, these are the companies we're partnering with to really put into play the things that we're talking about. You know, there's a company that was using a team of 100 workers to automate marketing material in a time of 15 minutes or less. And they basically started working with us, and they were able to take that team from 100 down to 4, and then 6 months later down to 0. And so, you know, there's companies that are already doing the things that we're automating, and it's really just a matter of these people who can look at, you know, their process and say, wow, we're seeing value in doing this, but this takes a lot of time, or maybe this isn't scalable. That's where we come in, and it's okay, we can, you know, remove that scalability challenge and actually often make it more accurate and faster than what they're currently doing.
And here's the thing, you know, sometimes some people would hear that and say, oh God, well, you know, getting rid of all these humans, it's the rise of the machines and everything else here. But, you know, there's never been a case where, you know, it makes sense to be getting human beings to do jobs that technology and computers can do better, does it? Because those people or the resources that pays for them can be paying them to do the dollar productive stuff. That's got to be the way forwards, hasn't it?
Exactly. And even on the estate agent, I mean, that right now, especially today with, you know, all the stress about like trying to get all these leads, trying to show the property to the different potential buyers. And then on top of that, like getting another potential seller, synchronizing with the photographer, getting the pictures, writing the nice description, listing into different portals. So all of this takes a lot of time. Okay, that actually the estate agent could be actually focused on having like more valuable conversations, for example, with the different potential buyers and sellers, trying to get more time, like trying to understand which is the markets or the kind of properties that could potentially give them like major returns. So, and today, I mean, just a question maybe for the audience, right? How much of your time are you spending on some of these things that obviously are relevant because needs to be done to get your job, and how many of them could be actually automated and you can get more free time? So, I mean, this is the kind of a combination of how AI can help. So we are not here, let's say, to add something that will, let's say, you know, remove jobs, or so it's more like how we get rid of these like of tedious tasks.
Yeah, that's exceptional. And here's the thing anyway, is, you know, if you don't do it, you're going to get caught behind the curve, because you have the potential, if you engage with this kind of technology now, to get a competitive advantage, to be seen as first, as innovative at anything else, and everyone else then is just playing catch up. So, I mean, that's just, until we live in a world where that isn't true, you know, it's just get engaged really, isn't it, and understand what's possible. How would you, I mean, I was going to leave this to the end, but my memory is terrible, so I better ask you now. What's the best way to kind of engage with you to find out what's possible? Is it simply just get in contact, set up a call and talk through what, you know, they need to understand the scope of it, but them to throw a few ideas back and forth and you can say kind of yes or no, that's possible or might be in the future?
Yeah, that could be, let's say, the right way to approach it. Obviously, we have experience with lots of different players worldwide, so we can give lots of, you know, different examples of how the technology could be utilized, and even, I mean, every time we learn like something new. At the same time, we are giving like some, let's say, good use cases that, you know, the estate agent or maybe the portal or the technological supplier that supports both of them, you know, they never thought about.
Yeah.
So, but that's the best way to do it. Yeah.
And one of the things we were talking about is, of course, this is fantastic technology, and not to downplay this down to kind of what QR codes or anything else like that, but where tools like that became absolutely, you know, vital and really productive is when they were embedded into the systems that were already being used, weren't they? Not when you were kind of downloading an app and then, you know, having to remember to take the QR, but when you could just take a normal photo. One of the things you spoke about is this could become just so powerful if we get this embedded to some of the core services that agents use. So the everyday sources of truth, for example, the CRM software packages, the EDM solutions that they're mailing out with, clearly the portals. I mean, if there's anyone out there who's got a portal, you need to be getting in contact with these guys, or hopefully have introduced them already, because that just becomes such an exciting consumer story, doesn't it, in terms of what you've been able to do and how you've been able to help them.
That's exactly correct. And in fact, I mean, as we always say, like there are like different use cases, and depending of each one, okay, we might be better engaging with the portal, the CRM, or I mean, both of them. But at the end of the day, the estate agent is already using like lots of different tools. Okay, yeah. So we don't want to add, let's say, a layer of complexity. So by being embedded on some of the systems that they have, so that might be the best way moving forward. So because then it's like completely integrated on their existing processes. So, and it's just about like how we can help them optimize their time.
Fantastic. So can we just go a step further as well, just in terms of what do you believe is the value in analyzing those property images in the way that you're talking about is possible?
So, I mean, I think there's a lot of different values, you know, depending on where you're looking. We've talked about a couple of examples of, you know, automating some of these manual processes, and that's an efficiency gain. But I think there's also things that we're doing, you know, such as with our property condition models, where we're analyzing a property based on its photos and determining, you know, is it in disrepair? Is it a luxury property? Does it appear like new? These things are incredibly important, you know, from a valuation perspective. If you're, you know, looking at a property and its comparables, understanding, okay, you know, these properties are all similar from a zip code, from a, you know, a square meter perspective, but, you know, one's been recently renovated and the other one, you know, it's been a little, had a hard time recently.
That's why, by the way, guys, that's why I've got my pink screen on here, because if you were to use your technology on the state of the room behind me, you'd be saying dilapidated or anything else. I think that's a fascinating angle to look at it though, isn't it? The condition, to give an initial kind of overview of the condition of a property from the images, again, scary, but in a fantastic way, in a really productive, useful way.
Absolutely. And I think it's just something that, you know, a lot of people previously thought that, okay, you can't do that. There's too many little details, like, will the AI notice this or that? And it's one of the things that even for us, having worked with AI, you know, when we really started doubling down on kind of that initiative when COVID started, because of the lack of being able to, you know, as easily go visit homes, you know, I think it's very common that we underestimate it. And then we're surprised that now we use it as a reference when we're, you know, looking at ourselves and saying, you know, am I looking at this right? Is there something I'm missing? Oh, you know, I missed that hole in the floor in the back because, you know, I just glanced at the photo. And so I think, you know, it's incredibly powerful and incredibly useful, you know, for as a helpful extra tool.
It absolutely is. It's such, it really is such an exciting area. So I mean, and I think that's the nice thing, isn't it? You know, we're talking about new exciting technology, albeit, as I said, only really in property. And you know that as soon as some agents start using this, it's going to snowball out there. But I think here's the key thing as well, unless my basic understanding is, as good as and powerful as it is now, that machine learning, that AI is only going to deliver more and more benefits as you keep pumping in data and using those. I mean, you know, data is only data until you find ways of using it. But as agents find innovative new ways of presenting this, either from marketing segmentation and everything else, it's going to be an exciting elevator ride, isn't it, really, to find out what's going to happen.
It is, and every time we speak with a estate agent, so we realize that there are plenty of new different things that we could be doing as well. So just to give you an example, once we started just with the purely, let's say, classification models that we talk about. Sorry if I'm becoming like a little bit technical. It's just like out of an image, like let's say if it's a kitchen, if it's a bathroom, if it's a closet, I mean, all these kind of different classification in terms of the rooms. But then we start deep diving on the different features, like trying to get if there is a bathtub, if there is a, you know, dark countertops, if you have like high ceilings, fireplace, like, you know, all the different components that actually add value to a property. And that help us move into the condition. So right now, let's say analyzing more the interior of a property as we move right now to the exterior. But once we move into the exterior, we need to analyze the property by itself, but also the landscaping. So have been the bushes, let's say, cut, or the grass, you know, it's being maintained. I mean, is the swimming pool as well in the right condition? So all these different things that actually have a huge impact as well from buyers and sellers, ABMs, but also insurance companies. Yeah. This is something that we are iterating, like, you know, as we move.
Amazing. I mean, I was just thinking, how would I use it? And of course, I appreciate I'm in a niche of one, but I don't know what you would call them in Barcelona, but we have what's called monkey puzzle trees over here, and I absolutely love them, and genuinely. And I've never once seen on an estate agent's, you know, sort of tick list has it got a monkey puzzle tree. But I would literally love to be able to search, and it's that kind of, you know, when you can drill into that imagery, can't you? And just sort of, it just broadens the whole search thing out and just breaks down all these boundaries of, you don't need to have that tick list then, do you? 100 strong. It's just, yeah, again, I think your mind does just pop at that.
But link with that, Simon. So, I mean, or it's also a question for the audience, right? I mean, how many emails did you get every day? So, I mean, thousands, right? So once you get an email from like, you know, a property portal or something, like showing you like different properties that you may be interested in. So, I mean, with time, it became almost irrelevant because, you know, like thousands of properties that you have seen that you don't even know if that could be like, say, you know, fitting with your needs. Okay. And as you said, maybe it's like you are super interested on these kind of monkey trees, like images with the exterior. So why instead of like 100, you get an email with these kind of 4 properties that actually have this kind of features? Yeah. So maybe, let's say, we have seen that the engagement with those emails, the ways that you get into those properties, the time that you spend with the property portal or the website of the estate agent increases. So all these different things about less is more. So yes, we are seeing like a huge increase in terms of engagement of customers. So
that's totally, I mean, actually, just look up there. It's probably reversed, but our tagline is making sense of the noise. Yeah. And that's the key, isn't it? How do you break through the noise to deliver the relevant? Well, it's not by spamming people. It's by getting hyper, you know, agents quite often talk about being hyper local, but being hyper personalized as well. That's a tag team that's just unbreakable, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. But even with the estate agent, I mean, how many leads are they getting as well from portals that, I mean, speaking with like a couple of customers in Central Europe and in Southern Europe, okay, which are huge. I mean, they were telling me that maybe for each property, they might be getting like 100, 120 leads, but 90% of them are worthless.
Yeah.
I mean, meaning that actually it's people that actually might be not interested in that kind of property, might not be able to pay for it. I mean, and they waste a lot of time then, agents trying to, let's say, find the right opportunity as well. So
Can I throw again? It's unfair, and I should have asked you before we started. But again, I don't mind doing this on the show. It's my show. I can do what I like. let's do, over here, the property market's been fantastically strong over the last year, thank God, and all the rest of it. And so at the moment, stock is at an all-time low, you know, so prospecting and trying to find new properties is name of the game. If I was to understand where you could go ultimately with this kind of technology, you could almost have people, buyers, uploading their perfect home, or here's the sort of 3 home images that I like. As long as the agents had in their database the images of all those properties, they could actually go back to those properties that were of a similar type and talk to those vendors who obviously aren't on the market at the moment and say, look, just to let you know, we're getting a lot of interest. Somebody is looking for a home just like yours. And there's the potential, isn't there, to actually, you know, get that person to think, you know what, actually, for the right offer, for the right, you know, the right price, we would think about moving. And they haven't even had to hit the property portals at that stage, or you know, go to another estate agent. So am I right in thinking that's kind of thing in the future could be possible?
Simon, take what you just said, which is a great idea, and then add this layer on top where you say, hey, a homeowner who has this particular type of property that we know, you know, 50% more than the standard amount of people are looking for. We know that a property like yours comes on the market once every 6 months. Based on where the market's at right now, we think that you would be able to sell your property at 10% over typical value because of the built up demand for your type of property and its rarity in this area. That's the future that we see in this space.
That is, yeah, because that is where some e-commerce sites do go to, don't they? They talk about literally going back to supply and demand. Based on what we've got here now at the moment, you'll be paying this price. What's this? Is this considered a fair price or a cheap price? And so again, it's just put transparency on the marketplace, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, you know, I think even flipping on its head, you know, from what that, you know, obviously there's a couple pieces involved for what you just described, but flipping that on its head and looking at the individual level, you know, having someone who's able to put out a report that says, all right, you know, there's been this many modern homes sold, or this many, you know, properties that have been, you know, transaction in this area. This is just unique information that makes you someone that people want to follow on social media, open their emails. Like, these are all unique insights that are very trivial to generate with the type of technology that we work with.
So that's on the likes of TripAdvisor, isn't it? One of the most clickbaity emails that I can't help myself is, you know, here's the top 100 hotels with pools and things like that. They could start profiling the properties that they have in the area. They could start talking about here's our top 100 Georgian properties. And again, not having to go back and go through those manually, but brought up once you've got them indexed and catalogued at the touch of a button.
We may be guilty for helping generate some of that content.
Okay, well that's great. It's the stuff that works. As I said, is loosely speaking, I nick loads of ideas from TripAdvisor and Kerfuffle, so I can't criticize too much. So how do you see that? You know, we've spoken about a couple of different angles there. How do you see property search moving forwards then?
You want to take that one, Nathan?
Yeah, I mean, we've touched on a lot of, you know, different areas where I think there's opportunity, but, you know, I think we're at a high level that I think everyone can relate to. Property search is going from this experience where you log onto a portal, you put a bunch of specific information, and then eventually you're shown a property, to something that's much more enjoyable, where you get on Pinterest or you get on Instagram and you just scroll and you see things that are relevant and, you know, interesting to you. I know because there's so, you know, everyone's been stuck at home. Everyone's been, you know, there's not been as much availability. There's been a ton of properties just disappearing so quickly that people are just looking at properties for fun. And that's never really been the case in the past. And what we think property search is going to be in the future is something that people do treat of as a more enjoyable activity. Okay, can I, you know, just be shown properties that are relevant, that are available, that would be interesting to me and me as an individual, not, you know, me as the collective group in a certain location. And then can I even do things like, oh, I like this property, but what would it look like renovated? All right, because say this is more of a worn down property that you would have to put money in. What does that look like renovated? what would it be worth after it's renovated? How does that differ from this property to the property next door? I mean, these are the things that I think you're going to be able to do in real time, on site, you know, in the very near future, not, you know, not 10 years out. This is things that we're working on with people right now.
That's amazing. That really is amazing there. So what sort of, guys, I know you're obviously, you're talking to some very, I won't name them, but some very forward thinking agents and clients of ours over here at the moment. What sort of people, what sort of agents should be talking to you at the moment? What are you targeting, a particular demographic, or is it really just somebody with an appetite to look at what's, you know, what is just around the corner really?
I mean, that's a simple question. I mean, obviously, everyone who is interested on, let's say, improving all these, let's say, experience across their sites, every agent that actually embraces, let's say, the innovation, technology, that they see like their potential customers, like engaging with them in a different way. Yeah. So obviously, that's the kind of real estate agent that we are interested in. So at the end of the day, we are operating with different agents, let's say, worldwide. So, but the issues are quite common. So even if the markets work like a little bit different, okay, so we are finding over and over again the same kind of challenges. So we could recommend that the ones that they want to differentiate themselves and be the innovators should be the first ones that we are eager to talk to.
The normal one, the evangelists, the advocates, what do Apple call them? The dreamers. Come on, guys, you need to be talking. And I think you've said quite, look, for any Kerfuffle members, you'll be really keen to have a conversation, a free consultancy session, just to talk these things over. That's right. We were just saying, weren't we?
Yep, absolutely.
So if I was to just summarize before I ask you just for any closing thoughts on this, if I was to take kind of 3 takeaways, which I always like to look at here, is basically your point is that there's been a whole generation of home buyers that's growing up on personalized feeds from all of these different sort of sources and everything else, at their fingertips, expecting things to be, you know, self-serviced and personalized. And that's what the future you're able to promise is you're going to be able to deliver that in their home buying experience. That's the first and most key one, isn't it? I think I'm right in saying. You're right. Secondly, more than any, in fact, more than most other businesses, you know, estate agencies are sat on just immense amounts of images, aren't they? That wonderful raw data that you guys can set your machine learning to you know, to look at those algorithms and everything else. So really, it's untapped gold unless you do talk to them. Otherwise, it's just, as we were just saying before, actually, it's just taking up server space, really, isn't it? Yep. And then lastly, I suppose, you know, AI does make it now possible, doesn't it, to leverage that data to reinvent how people, you know, buy and sell homes. And that point we just made again earlier, the companies that don't will be left behind the curve.
Absolutely.
Correct. That pretty much it. Cool, guys. Okay, well, look, as ever, we encourage anybody here, go and have a look at Restb on the kerfuffle.com website. What's your domain, guys? Just read it out for anyone looking to go direct.
Restb.ai. So quite simple.
There you are. Of course, I should have. If I'd done my research, I would have been able to tell them that anyway, but I did warn you about that. And of course, obviously, just drop me a line at simon@kerfuffle.com and we will forward any inquiries. But I am I say this a lot, I'm fascinated to see how this technology adopts, and do promise us the minute we've got, you know, some case studies we can start talking about. I think that's going to just be so interesting to see how it develops, and it will just develop incredibly quickly, won't it?
We're seeing it happen, you know, at an accelerating rate. So
nice. Cool. Okay, gents. Well, thank you very much. From today in miserable England to you guys in sunny Spain, Barcelona. Yeah, wonderful to hear from you, and the best of luck with your venture.
Thank you so much, Simon. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
Cheers.